So Apple and Google have decided to do a huge multi-year collaboration to help develop Apple's foundation models, which will be based on Google's Gemini models in cloud technology. And these models are going to actually power future Apple intelligence features, which Apple call AI, as known as Apple Intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. That's just Apple's spin on it. But basically, that's by doing that and by working with Google and Gemini models and cloud technology, they are going to have the more personalized Siri coming this year that was promised and never happened. Now, this can bring a lot of ramifications in terms of this, which this article actually covers. Now, I've been an Apple fan for a long time. I love Apple, love the products that they have, love the software. All my stuff is pretty much used with Apple. But I was so down when I realised that they couldn't deliver what they had promised in terms of Apple Intelligence, in terms of your iPhone fully understanding, when your mum's coming from the next flight and when to pick her up and all of that. I was so excited for it. And when it didn't happen, it was like, it's such a shame. And Google's Gemini models are pretty outstanding. But I imagine that OpenAI's ChatGPT, they'll be gutted, OpenAI, that Apple decided not to work with them because Google seems to be more ahead. So anyway, let's get into this. So it says, news this week reveals that Apple, a top device maker for decades, is upping the ante with its relationship with Google. The company that revolutionized internet search in the 90s is now on its way to dominating other fields like file sharing and email. Now, the reason why Google is ahead of the game is because of the amount of data that's shared to Google. Apple is very careful about owning data from their consumers, whereas Google doesn't have that care because they understand that data is valuable to them. And that's how their business model actually works. So they've done a joint statement saying multi-year collab, Apple foundation models will be based on Google Gemini models and cloud technology. These models will help power future Apple Intelligence features, including a more personalized Siri coming this year. I mean, Siri just is so out of date right now. This is desperately needed. After careful evaluation, which I'm sure Apple did, Apple determined that Google's AI technology provides the most capable foundation for Apple foundational models and is excited about the innovative new experiences it will unlock for Apple users. Now, Apple Intelligence will continue to run on Apple devices and private cloud compute, which Apple actually created as like their own network to stop unnecessary data from going to chatbots, etc., while maintaining Apple's industry-leading privacy standards. And that's an important one because Google doesn't really have that same kind of privacy standards that Apple do, which is why the Apple ecosystem is so important to their consumers. And obviously Google, just as I said, has a different stance on it. So Google pretty much repeats the same thing. Apple is noting that it wants to buy, not build, in terms of the models running elements on Apple devices. So basically, they've realised that they're not going to win by themselves, that they really do need Google's help to be able to bring what they promised to fruition. Now, their foundation models have an estimated 3 billion parameters, which is actually quite small. By picking Gemini for Siri, Apple is signalling a shift towards vendor provisions over in-house spin-ups. So that's quite important. Now, they do already have a long-standing partnership with each other. And basically the way that it works is Google has been paying Apple as the chosen browser. So, for example, not every user likes Apple pushing the Google browser for a Macintosh laptop or an iPhone, but that's what's going on with Apple, making it easy to switch from Safari. So there's been these deals that have been going on for years and billions have been paid out. So it's interesting that Apple is now going to pay for Google. Although plenty of web browsers are freely available for you to download on your platform of choice, only Apple device owners have the privilege of using Safari. And that's something I never really thought about because I don't typically use Safari that much. I've used it in this video purely because it has a reading mode. It gets rid of all of the ads. And it's really about the functionality that it offers. And it just talks about Chrome and Safari, and just whether they'll do the same thing in terms of Apple. Apple do the same thing for Siri, trying to get users to sign on to using Gemini actively for all kinds of daily functions, or who knows. Because at the moment, if you ask a request on an iPhone, it can go through to ChatGPT, but you have to click the button to make sure that that's allowed. So it's not the easiest flow in the world. Now, there's been rumours online that OpenAI previously indicated the company did not want this role, and Apple's kind of going their own way because of Sam Altman's got a deal at the moment trying to come up with OpenAI hardware with the old Apple designer. So in terms of how this will affect the AI market as we hurtle towards singularity, you'd expect Google to get a lot richer and gain even more prominence for a household name. But experts would hold that a new interface is coming, one where you don't have to carry around an expensive brick, talk to it and stare at it and type on its tiny touchscreen. So there you have it. Time will tell in terms of how that's going to work, how that's going to look, but it's needed. I mean, if you look at the Amazon Alexa devices, they're slowly rolling that out now, and that's going to make a huge difference for those devices. So that's already ahead of the game. Google's Gemini is very good, so is OpenAI's models. I've just done videos about DeepSeek for anybody that's interested, but Apple is falling behind, and they're never in the race to beat everybody. They'd rather take their time and do it right. And even though they seem really delayed this time in terms of what they've promised, which has never really happened before, I feel that with Google, that is their best chance of getting it right. And to me, that actually makes a lot of sense. So yeah, on that note, let me know what you think. See Tim Cook's head right in the bottom. And subscribe if you're interested in content such as this. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care. Bye.